Hi everybody, welcome to Luke's TV show reviews. Anyway, starting out, She-Hulk. This was a really terrible show. Horrible. Did not like it. It's going to be a spoiler review. Anyway, this particular review, other reviews have covered a lot of different things about the show. How bad the CGI is, how bad a lot of stuff just would never happen. Things like this. So I'm going to cover She-Hulk being a villain, which is what the writers are portraying her as. Now, obviously, in the comic books, she's not. But in this particular show, they portray her as a villain. So anyway, in episode 1, Jen almost murders some guys for simply trying to talk to her, but Bruce stops her. These guys are outside of a bar, and they're just trying to talk to her, and she gets all holed up and literally tries to murder them. And it's a good thing Bruce shows up, because who knows what would happen. She would have probably murdered them. Okay, then Jen has no interest in using her powers for good and treats Bruce like crap, and that's put mildly. That's been covered like crazy too by videos. She just treats him really horrible and just belittles him like crazy. And she just wants to go back to her life. She literally fights him to convince him to let her go back to her previous life. She's just like, she does not care about him at all. So she cares about his safety in the, but she just doesn't care about his feelings or anything or what he's gone through. She ignores the advice of someone who was supposed to be working with her on a case. That guy, he was just like, I just need to smile more. And he's like, well, I think it'd maybe be better coming from me. It's an opinion. It's not, and yes, maybe smiling more is a good thing. It's more amiable. It just comes across better. But instead she listens to her yes woman who constantly tells her that she's perfect. I think her yes woman's Nikki. She's just like, oh no, you got it, you're great, and oh, you didn't help at all. And she literally just fawns all over. And then Jen tells the audience, oh, by the way, yeah, I was right, Bruce was wrong. Even though the audience knows the opposite is true because they literally just saw it. We literally just saw that Bruce is right about this whole thing and that she's not, and she's just ignoring the advice of literally like everybody that's trying to help her. She's ignoring their advice. So then she's in the courtroom, and this gal just shows up out of nowhere through a wall. Jen doesn't want to use her powers to help the people in the room because she is afraid that she would ruin her outfit. Literally, that is what she's saying. She's like, oh, I like this outfit, I don't want to do it. Oh, people here, I don't know. She doesn't give a crap about the people around her. But her yes woman's like, oh no, this would be great. Great if you do it. Make it look good. And then she's like, oh wait, your shoes, because for some reason, some of these people, it's all about the shoes. It's another stereotype. I don't know what it is with these producers' obsession with feet too. They're just like showing the feet. So anyway, then we get to episode 2. Jen's narcissism is exemplified when she goes to a bar and the patrons are chanting her alter ego's name. They're chanting She-Hulk, 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 even though she hasn't even gone in. She hasn't showed her face at all. But she readily agrees to go in when her assistant, Nikki, tells her, oh, they're referring to you, and that it would make her look good if she went in as the She-Hulk. She's like, yeah, we'll get free drinks off of people. It'd be great. So you literally just want her to use her fame, which doesn't even make sense for her to have because she's only done one thing so far. It was a little public, but wasn't that public, and okay, to get free drinks. So anyway, after getting fired, people have gone over that there wasn't any reason for her to get fired in the first place. She is turned down by several job interviews, and like I said, because the show writers don't know how to do their job because it's ridiculous. Then we get a scene where she is wallowing in self-pity and her assistant tells her that she's perfect. She's literally like, oh, I don't know. Her assistant's like, no, you're perfect, you're great. It's just everybody else that's wrong. And then we get a scene where she goes to her family. She goes to a dinner with her family she doesn't even want to go to, which I understand there's a difference between loving people and liking people, but holy crap. We have seen that shows how little she cares about the rest of her members of her family. I mean, she doesn't give a crap about these people at all. And she complains to her dad about how she doesn't want to use her powers for good. Literally, she's just like, oh, I don't want to be a superhero. I don't want to do this stuff. I just want to live my life. And it's just like, wow, how selfish can you be? After that, we get a scene at the bar where she accepts a job at a law firm. She just jumps at the offer because she's a complete narcissist. She doesn't even bother to ask any details about the job before accepting it, with the only condition that her assistant, Nikki, goes along with her, or yes woman. He's just like, I don't care, whatever. I'm just hiring you, whatever. And then we get even more displays of her narcissism as she goes into her new job, and then her boss is like, hey, you're supposed to show up. I just want you to show up in She-Hulk form when you're at the office because that's who I hired. And then she complains to the audience that she thinks that it's not fair that she only got hired for her She-Hulk appearance, while simultaneously telling the audience that the men she passes only got hired because of their looks. And it's like, okay, you're being really narcissistic and hypocritical there. When she gets to her office, her yes woman, Nikki, is there to stroke her ego again and tell her about the things that Jen gets for taking the job. She's like, oh, no, it's okay that you only got a job for this. No. Just look at this, all this stuff that we get. We get a corner office with a window view. We get fully stocked mini fridge, all this stuff. No, it's great. Like, no, just ignore the fact that you just got hired because of She-Hulk. Then gets her first case, which is to defend a villain. Which you'd think, okay, yeah, no, she wouldn't do it. She'd just be like, well, she'd find a way to get out of it. Or go to a law firm that doesn't defend villains. Anyway, she initially voices some reservation out of loyalty to her cousin, Bruce, but that all flies out the window when she talks to her potential client and decides that she can trust him. She's like, I totally believe you. Okay. Disregarding what her cousin Bruce thinks and giving him only a token phone call when she takes the job. And he even said, he's like, yeah, you've already decided. It's pretty obvious. You're just calling me to let me know that you took the job. On to episode 3. This episode opens up with Jen being angry with Emil Blonsky, I'm totally probably butchering that name, for being caught on camera outside the cell. She's just like, that seems to be what she's upset about. Not that he actually escaped and came back, but that he was caught on camera. She then does some more reckless driving, literally reckless driving, while talking on the phone with her assistant and telling the audience that it is her, to remember that it's her show, not anybody else's. She takes her hands off the wheel, turns to the camera, talks to the audience and stuff. Now, I can buy a little bit that you freeze time when you talk to the audience, but at least I could have if they had established that early on in the show. But no, they established early on in the show that time doesn't stop. So she takes her hands fully off the wheel, looks to the side while the car is still in motion. It's ridiculous. Anyway, she gives in to her assistant, who convinces her to do interviews to boost her image, further showing her narcissism. Because her assistant's just like, oh yeah, you got some negative press. How about you do some interviews and stuff and get your face out there and stuff. And it's like, granted, I'm not a lawyer. Maybe that's okay for a lawyer to do. Maybe that's a good thing. But it really comes across in this show as being really narcissistic. Anyway, she goes into a meeting with her boss where she treats her coworker, who for some reason is also the coworker from before, who apparently got hired at this law firm too. I guess he got fired. They didn't show that. They didn't explain that. And they're just like, oh yeah, he works at this firm now. He's a lawyer too here. Like, okay, why? Anyway, she treats him like an idiot. and is very rude to him. Okay, why is she treating him like an idiot? Why is she rude to himself? Oh, just because he got fooled by a shapeshifter. Um, could have sworn that it's kind of in the name, shapeshifter, as in you can take on the appearance of anybody. And apparently, if you take on the form of somebody, you take on their vocal cords until you take on their voice. But she's just like, oh no, you're a moron. Now, like I said, to be fair, the guy is an idiot, but not for the reason that she gives. She then proceeds to go ahead with defending Emil, despite him being a villain and now someone who escaped prison. So he's got that on top of it. And she's also fine with Wong helping him escape. So this one guy, oh, she's totally fine with this guy helping him escape and stuff. She has a meeting with him. She's like, oh no, we'll just have you say that you helped him escape. And it's like, don't you know that's a crime? The whole aiding and abetting thing. She's supposed to be a lawyer. She's supposed to know these things. I'm not a lawyer, and I know these things. She then heads to a bar, get her ego stroked by her assistant again, and complain about how bad she thinks she has it. This is like apparently the only bar that they go to, and they do business at this bar for some reason. Everybody just shows up at this bar. It's just like, oh, woe is me. Oh, this is just so bad. You know, all these people like me, but oh, I have this. I have all this attention. I like this attention, but I don't like the fact that I have to do my job. Okay. After then, she goes on the witness stand and bashes her coworker's intellect. Coworker Pug's intellect, because she doesn't like the guy. That's really about all the motivation. She's a character witness to assassinate his character. Oh, okay. She's so high on her own farts that she thinks that she would never get fooled by a shapeshifter. She's like, I would never fall for that. You've got to be an idiot to have done that. It's like, think a little bit here, stupid. Okay, on to episode 4. She starts out the episode by bad-mouthing the cops to her dad. She's like, they can't solve any crimes. They're useless. Like, okay, and you're a lawyer. You don't see the conflict here? And she takes a meeting with Fugitive Wong because he's a fugitive. Because he helped this guy escape and agrees to be his lawyer. Like, okay. After complaining that she can't meet guys on a dating program, I think people call them apps, she turns down a guy who approaches her and her assistant at a bar because she thinks that he's beneath her. And it's like, okay, you just complained that you can't meet guys, but when one approaches you, you're just like, oh no, what are you doing? It's like, okay. Then her assistant convinces her to catfish guys using her She-Hulk profile picture on this app. Literally, that's what happens. So it's like, okay. So her She-Hulk catfishing a guy lands her an obvious player. This guy's obviously just saying the things that he thinks will get him in her pants or skirt or whatever. That's literally all. It's blatantly obvious. But she's so horny, she's like, yeah. She's so self-absorbed that she doesn't even notice that he just wants to have sex with She-Hulk. She's a moron. It is only after she has him back at her place that she tells him about being Jen. At this point, it's too late for him to get out. If she tried to stop him, especially after he sees that she has a friend who can teleport anywhere, because Wong just shows up out of nowhere, teleports in, it's like, crap. The guy would be like, crap, I'm trapped here. Wong the fugitive shows up to enlist her help with a failed magician's mess, which he did not help her with. Because she was like of no help in this. Because they were just flinging these demon thingies into the portal that one had, and then that wasn't getting them anywhere, and one just creates this sucky whirlwind thing that just sucks them all up anyway, so she was of no use. Then after the mess is all cleaned up, she threatens the life of this magician. She literally just like, oh, you're going to sign this paper and or I'm going to let this thing loose on you. Has she never heard of under duress? That paper would not be admissible in court. And any lawyers out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but anything signed under duress, fairly certain it's not admissible. Anyway, she then teleports back to her couch, landing on the guy she lured to her house, lands right on top of him, and then she carries him to her bedroom and proceeds to date rape him. Because that's what it is. She date rapes this guy. Anyway, in the morning, when her libido has been sated, because she got hers, and he got his, but it was under false pretenses. So that's date rape. And she's a lawyer. She should know this. Anyway, she greets him in her human form and is bewildered as to why he doesn't want to stick around. It's like, okay, well, he went on the date with She-Hulk, came back to the house. Once he was trapped there, then she said, oh, by the way, I actually have this other alter ego, and yeah, I just went on this date for this reason, and okay. And then she finds out that she's getting sued by Titania because Titania copyrighted the She-Hulk name in a matter of like a couple days. Literally. Even though copywriting takes way longer than that. I mean, lawyers out there would know specifically, but I'm thinking months. I mean, I copyrighted something and it took at least a few months to get back. And that was just something real simple. That wasn't a trademark. So episode 5. She gets upset that Titania is using the She-Hulk name and suing Jen for using it. So then she does more reckless driving because she's looking at this billboard, paying attention to the billboard, not paying attention to where she's driving. And that shows us that she only wants to use the name, the She-Hulk name, if other people want to use it. So she only wants something if other people want it, type of a thing. It's just like, okay. Like I said, they're like saying this situation, like many others in the show, would never happen. So with no legal backing, she demands that Titania stop using the name, and then she's upset and obsessed with it when Titania declines to drop the lawsuit and stop using the name. She's just like, oh, you want to use this name? Well, because you want to use it, well, I'm so upset about it. It's like, okay. She then talks to her boss about it, who even says it's a frivolous lawsuit, but he takes it seriously. He assigns her a lawyer and stuff, even though all they have to do is file for a motion to dismiss. Because he says it's a frivolous lawsuit, Titania has no ground to stand on. She's so narcissistic that she decides, oh, hey, I was going by She-Hulk when I catfished all these guys. Well, or attempted to catfish, or she only got one. So, hey, how about we have them testify that she went by She-Hulk, but then she's surprised when they don't like Jen, they want She-Hulk. That's why they were going out with She-Hulk. They didn't think they were getting this other person. They thought they were getting She-Hulk. So after the case is dismissed, Jen goes out to a bar with this lawyer, and they just trash men like crazy, and just like, okay, and then she doesn't understand why the lawyer doesn't want to be friends. The lawyer's just like, no. She's like, oh, but I'm so great. She doesn't say that, but yeah. Then we get to episode 6. And they're all stupid episodes. One of her former classmates asks her via mail. She gets a package in the mail, and to be one of her bridesmaids at a former classmate's impromptu wedding. So this this classmate sends her a package saying, "Hey, you want to be my bridesmaid?" "Oh, of course you do. You got nothing going on." Like, how would you know? So Jen decides to upstage her by going to the wedding as She-Hulk. Like, okay. One, you could have said no. And then two, so you're just going to be vindictive and go to the wedding as She-Hulk, which you know will garner you a butt ton of attention and upstage the bride. How narcissistic can you get? And then she's visibly stunned when the bride-to-be tells her that the occasion is not about Jen, it's about, or She-Hulk, it's about the bride and the groom, which come to find out she's marrying her dog, Jonathan. Because we never see the groom, they just say the groom, and then they talk about this dog, Jonathan, that Jen's walking down the aisle, who's dressed in a tuxedo, and we're like, okay. And this bride-to-be gets all drunk after the wedding, too, and at the reception, so... she married a dog? What the heck? So She-Hulk, Jen's side. So Jen runs into Titania at the wedding and assumes that she's there because of her. She's just like, oh, no, she showed up here because of me, not anything else. Got to be because of me. Well, it might be, but you don't just assume that with no evidence to back it up. So I get why she's so self-absorbed and butthurt about all this that she falls for another slut guy. Who, yeah, this guy's a little better at hiding that he's a player and just wants to get in her pants or skirt, however you want to put it. But, I mean, and I guess she's a little drunk when she accepts, but later on when she goes out on the dates with him, trying to get into his pants too, she's not drunk. So, yeah. So then we come to episode 7. She sluts it up with this guy slut. They're both whores. They do their whore thing. This guy that she met at this wedding, Josh, the guy's name. And then she obsesses about him not returning her texts because he just hits it and quits it. Okay. He was an obvious player, came across like that to the audience. She didn't see it. She didn't want to see it. She was just too horny and self-obsessed. So narcissistic. Anyway, she is so self-absorbed about this that they literally show montages of her waiting by the phone, trying to get reception at Emma Blonsky's place, just waiting for this guy to text her back. One, it's a text message. It's not urgent. Two, if he's not texting you back within, I don't know, a few days, probably doesn't care that much. And why aren't you calling him then? You have his number. Give him a call, leave him a voicemail. If he doesn't respond within 24 hours, yeah. Well, it's a text message. It's not like you called him and left a voicemail or anything. Doesn't convey urgency at all. So then anyway, she goes to Emil Blonsky's place because Emil Blonsky's probation officer, he's like, well, his inhibitor that was actually, the inhibitors were, back in episode 1, Bruce Banner's like, well, this inhibitor, this is a prototype. There aren't any other inhibitors. But then later on in another episode, they changed that. They're like, oh, well, we'll put an inhibitor on Emil Blonsky. Like, okay, so you're retconning something within just a few episodes later. Wow. So anyway, his inhibitor went on the fritz. So his probation officer is like, hey, I want you to go with me. Even though he could have had some damage control peeps, which is apparently what they call the cops, the specialized cops there, could have gone with him. But no, he's like, hey, I want She-Hulk. It's like, okay. Maybe it's because he's the lawyer too, because she's Emma Blonsky's lawyer too. I don't know. They don't really explain that. So anyway, she goes down to Blonsky's place. Then her stuff gets sorted out. He said it was a short out because he touched an electric fence like an idiot. So anyway, she gets waylaid by a painfully obviously staged damaging of her car. These two, I guess they're supposed to be villains, were having a fight and damaged her car, and it was just so stupid. Well, she's there at his place because apparently, conveniently, the tow truck can't show up till later on at night or later on that day, like afternoon, nightish. So it's just like, she'll have to stay at this place for a while or start walking. It's like, or call a cab or call an Uber or something like that. But so while she's there, her ego gets stroked immensely by ML and his lackeys that are there, that fallen all over her and talk like stereotypical wine moms. And they don't talk like guys at all. They just talk like, yeah, stereotypical wine moms. They're just like, oh, where's this guy? We have to kill him. He's dead. We'll kill him. It's like, and of course they don't. The gals that talk like this don't actually go kill somebody, but it's like, guys don't talk like that. So yeah, they're just fawning all over her, and then when the tow truck finally shows up, she's like, oh yeah, I'm so great. So she doesn't suspect Emma Blonsky or these guys of anything at all. She's like, nah, they're innocent because they stroked my ego. So then we move on to episode 8. She assaults a guy that she's having drinks with. So another example how she can't seem to keep her anger in check. She gets this call from another Marvel character named Leapfrog, who is being chased by Daredevil, and then she tries to kill Daredevil. Doesn't give Daredevil time to say anything really, and then she literally is trying to kill him, throws a car at him, she's trying to straight up murder this guy. Then after finding out that Daredevil's actually this lawyer that Matt Murdock that she has the hots for, she's like, oh yeah, I'll do anything for you. So she goes with him to rescue her tailor because he tells her that, oh no, this Leapfrog guy, he's actually kidnapped your tailor guy and stuff, and she just believes him. She's like, okay, because she's horny for this guy. And this tailor also is the one making her dress for this award ceremony that she's going to be going to in the next episode. And she's like, oh, my dress, I got to look good. I can't go in a normal dress or anything. No, it's got to be this special type thing. And only this tailor knows how to make clothes, because apparently no other tailor knows how to make clothes using expandable material like spandex, which we know in episode 1 is possible. So yeah, like I said, she's just horny, selfish, and then we find out that Daredevil's horny for her. And then Daredevil's like, hey, after flirting with her, he's like, hey, I'm going to try to go in stealthily. Like, he doesn't go in stealthily. Like, he starts beating up people. He breaks down a door, throws a guy through it, starts beating people up. It's like, that's not stealthy, dude. And then she comes in down and smashes concrete into the top of these 5 guys. They're dead. She straight up murders 5 guys, and then Daredevil just goes along with it, so now he's an accessory. So then they find Leapfrog holding her tailor, and all this time, while Daredevil's beating up Leapfrog's goons, or henchmen, or whatever you want to call them, She-Hulk is trying to figure out a defense for Leapfrog. Instead of detaining him, knocking him out, doing something to... She doesn't even have to knock him out, just detain him. She's strong enough. So then, because she's a slut and Daredevil's a slut, they bang. And now, this is the Daredevil in this show. This isn't, from what I hear, this is not the Daredevil in the comics or the Daredevil in the Netflix series. So anyway, like I said, the award ceremony is the next episode. No, it's this episode, my bad. So she goes to the award ceremony. But she's surprised when a group of unknown characters show the audience that she's actually a villain and a slut. They're just like, oh yeah, see this is stuff that she's done, and these people she banged, and oh, she. Anyway, they show everybody, hey, she's a villain. Bit ironic because it's villains outing another villain. But hey, you eat your own sometimes, right? With these people. Apparently they do. So she throws a tantrum as She-Hulk. She turns into She-Hulk and punches the screen, stops it from displaying. That's about it. And then she sees some guys that are obviously dressed conspicuously. They got like black, they're wearing like all black, have black bandanas. It's like, no, that's not conspicuous at all. No, it's like they just showed up there to bait her. So she grabs one of them and threatens his life in front of tons of witnesses, and then she walks outside with him, or she does it outside, and these people called damage control people detain her, knock her out. Then we get to episode 9, the last episode. Thank God, because this is a terrible show. I don't know who this show's for. Because it's not for guys, it's not for gals. So anyway, episode 9, she wakes up in a cell trying to convince her lawyer, assistant, and co-worker, not Pug, but the other guy, the soy boy guy, lawyer. If you've watched the show, you know what I'm talking about. That she's actually the victim in all of this. It's like, oh no, I'm the victim. These guys were, they set me up, even though I did all this stuff, but she's not going to tell them that, even though her assistant Nikki knows. Anyway, she literally claims that she was just angry so that she could be let go. That's literally one of her defenses. Oh, I was just angry. Her lawyer's like, you're supposed to keep that in check. And because you can't keep it in check, that's why you're in a cell. Because you're dangerous. But her lawyer's like, okay, this plea deal, if you take this plea deal, get you out of jail, you lose your job, but at least you'll be out. So she takes the plea deal in order to get out of prison. She gets fired, apparently, because it's too much of a liability to have her around. And then she moves in with her parents, who she just treats like crap. She and her friend Nikki treat them like crap. Her parents are so patient with her. I think it's just because she's family that they go along with. I don't know why they don't stand up for themselves. Oh, that's right, because they aren't written that way. So anyway, she and her assistant are trying to figure out who exposed her, and the stated goal of this is to find them and destroy them. And Nikki's like, by any means necessary. And Jen's like, well, legally, I'm going to sue them for defamation and whatnot. But she says that I'm kind of thinking, the show has shown us that you don't give a crap about the law. You're willing to murder people, and you lose your temper like crazy. Yeah, I think you're going to go along with Nikki's plan. So anyway, she runs away to Emil's place. Apparently she doesn't have an inhibitor on her or any type of tracking device or anything where damage control can keep track of her and anything. I guess they just decided, we'll just let her go because I guess part of the plea deal was she said she was sorry and that she would never do it again. I don't think that's actually what it is, but that's what seems to be implied. It's the Emil Blonsky defense. I didn't mean to do it. I just lost my temper. Even though I was supposed to have that in check, and that's why I got put in here in the first place. But, yeah. So she runs away to Emil's place, where he just so happens to be having a party with his fellow villains at the time, who joined him to expose Jen, and they just happen to be having this at this point in time when she shows up. And oh, by the way, her friend Nikki, not actually a friend, by the way, her yes woman Nikki put a video of her dancing like a slut when she was in college or whatever online to try to bait these guys out, and apparently it was like, so she's showed up at an address because I guess they for some reason gave her an address. I don't know why. I have to rewatch this show to figure it out, or they didn't say it. So Nikki's there too. So they're having a party. They're doing this, and this Josh guy is Hulk King. I don't know who that is. I personally haven't read the comics. I'm just going by what's in the show. So anyway, she literally stops the show. Jen literally stops the show to make it so she wins and ends up with Daredevil. Yeah, that's literally what happens. She learns nothing throughout the show, throughout all the episodes. She doesn't learn anything. Her character has no change whatsoever. She gains no humility, no accountability for her actions whatsoever, and she's rewarded by terrible people for being a terrible person. So basically, the showrunners are rewarding this terrible character for being a terrible character, and her character just stays flat. She learns nothing. There's nothing. This show is a pile of crap. The only thing it got right is it had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And didn't really even have a good end. An end that even made sense to the show. Aside from that, it was crap. I kind of liked her dad a little bit, but that was about it. Her boss seemed alright. Her second boss. Overall, I'd give the show a 1 out of 11 or a 0 out of 11. It's that bad. It is that bad. It is just... Now, from what I hear, She-Hulk isn't a villain in the comics. She's a superhero, which is great. And the fourth wall stuff works in the comics from what I hear. It does not work in the show. The fourth wall stuff in this show does not work at all. She-Hulk in this show comes across as a villain. Villain in her own show. That's supposed to be a superhero sitcom. Stands for, situational comedy. There's no comedy. There's one time that I chuckled or had a little bit of a laugh. And that was when they were in court and the field magician guy is like, hey, I got a bird for you, and flips him off. The timing was good and it was fitted with the thing and it just made me kind of laugh. That was it. No comedy throughout. It's just, except for that, and it's just cringe. All the guys are written like soy boy crap villain type. It's just, all the gals are written stereotypical wine mom types. I think they call it wine mom types, where they're just like, nobody's real in this show. It's like the writers and showrunners have zero interaction, and it's like the writers and showrunners have zero interaction with people outside of Hollywood. They have there's no real world experience. It's not coming across at all. None of these characters are written. They're all fake. None of them are written like real people. In the situations that they put them in, who's going to act like that? Even Hollywood people probably wouldn't act like that. So anyway, yeah, I give this show a 0 out of 11. Or a 1 out of 11, because it's just so terrible. Anyway, it's been Luke's TV show reviews. My first one, and all the YouTube thingies. The subscribe, like, all that. If you like it, comment. Tell me how bad I am about this, how I'm wrong, how this. Or if you think I'm right, great. If you, whatever. Anyway, All right.